But what we're going to do initially is just take a look at these charts, and for those in the audience, there are charts outside. I'm sorry, there's only one, or in fact, if y'all, I can give you mine to look at, until we break up again, and I can share with somebody else. So there'll be 2 sets out there to look at. We're waiting. The consultant said they're about 10 minutes out, and this evening is just a few minutes away. So as soon as they're all here, we will reconvene, but at least we're officially looking at what we've got in front of us. Actually, I think we could. We can share it. So I'm going to just put this out here. All you need to do is well, first we want to thank you for having these done by tonight, because we realized that was a lot to do in a short amount of time, and we appreciate it. We've had a few minutes to start looking at them, but of course it would be much more useful if you could walk us through what what is on these plans, and just like the summary.
Sure.
And then after we get through that, we'll ask questions, and then we can begin our discussion.
I want to start by giving you a quick status update. Okay. What we have done today is we have created 5 plans, and C2 is revisions that were provided to us by you. Then we have a plan called E-2-1, which once again with limited comments from Mr. Cater. E-2-2 is with complete comments from Mr. Cater. Then we have a hybrid plan 1, and we have a hybrid plan 2. And the hybrid plans have part of plan C from the south and E-2-1 in the north, and hybrid plan 2 is C for the south and plan E-2-2 in the north. We also provide you with % utilization of capacity for up to 5 years. We also will show you the FRL information, the free and reduced lunch information, the number of affected students by schools in each plan, and neighborhood splits by each plan. So you have Plan C2 table in front of you. And in that plan, I just want to give you a quick summary of the plan, Plan C2. It's obviously based on Plan C, which we had presented last time. The number of affected students now are 2,392, and 8 neighborhoods are split. Just to give you a quick summary of the schools, after having made all the changes that you had requested, Burns is overcrowded now. Garrisonville is low, starting at 68.99%, and Burns would be starting at 97.41%.
What about Winding Creek? Yeah.
I'm getting there. Park Ridge is also going to start very low, 59%. Rocky Run will get overcrowded. Stafford will get overcrowded. And Winding Creek is overcrowded, so it will start at 97%. Okay? And then other than the schools and their percentages and the capacity utilization, there would be some disconnected areas. So there would be in the Hartwood area, where we are adding APUs 275 and 275.1, and that kind of creates an island there. We have moved those to Rocky Run as per the school board recommendations. Then it causes another disconnected area in Moncure, where we have the 309 APU, 309.1 APU, which we have assigned to Whitewater. So, yeah, go ahead.
I think that the orange on C2 is in the wrong place. It should be over where Cardinal Forest and Moria is. Just, I actually don't think it does create a problem.
I'm talking about these two planning units. 275 and two.
Okay.
And if
Oh,
we,
okay, I see now what you're saying. Okay,
Yes.
I saw it, heard it the reverse. I got it, okay.
so if we assign them to Rocky Run, then we have these three, which are kind of disconnected.
Okay.
And then there are disconnected, and then there is another one, 188.0. This planning unit was primarily used as a connector between the Conway areas, so that is a disconnected area. Yeah. So that is the summary of Plan C2, okay?
Can I ask a question about that
Sure.
one? So was there a balance, like, did individuals that took kids out of one school actually put kids back? With
Yeah.
the abuse? I mean, I tried to do that, so I was wondering, like, so for 309.1, and I could ask Mr. Cater, who did you put back at Park Ridge? Taking out 309.1.
No, 309.1 was being taken out of Moncure.
Moncure, okay.
Yeah, and she put in 308.1.
Okay, okay.
That balanced out.
Okay.
Whitewater.
So I wasn't sure why it was so low. Like what did we put it at?
Now, Park Ridge was low because Park Ridge, here what we have is, before we had put part of Embry Mills in
Got it.
Park Ridge.
Mhm.
And then we had other areas that were assigned to the schools that they were in, so.
Okay.
Park Ridge landed up being very low. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions on C2?
I know that we were very much wanting to move Brooks Mill Estates, that little camel hump. Where did those students end up going?
Oh, we put them in Stafford.
Okay.
And Pop, that's part of Poplar too.
Yeah.
There's two APUs there.
There were these two APUs over here.
And Windermere's part of.
Sure.
Brooks.
So where did we, I mean, I don't know if we did or not. I mean, the numbers look pretty good. So where did you take something out of Stafford to make room for those kids, or was there just a?
30 kids were kept at Anthony Burns.
Got it.
Who are currently going to,
Yeah,
who are
no,
currently going there. It's at the Towns of Ashley, I think
Sure. I was just
suggested.
curious what had happened. Yeah, great, cool.
Oh, what has happened is.
But
that
Burns is
Stafford-
over, now
Yeah.
Burns is very high, so that's
Yeah.
an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll show you exactly what happened. We put these two, and there was this particular planning unit which was sent back to Burns, and yeah.
What
So
number is that?
That number is 101.2. This one over here.
101.2, yeah. 32 kids. So that's 32. And how much stayed? Was that the same 32? How many?
Yeah,
So-
just that one
32?
APU.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So Stafford is kind of okay, but Burns is not. Okay?
Any other questions on C2?
Yeah, can you use the tool right now to move anything, or
which-
will it not?
What are you looking at?
Why don't we go
Okay.
through all the
Sure,
plans,
sure,
and
sure.
then we can come
Yeah.
back to that.
I have a question, and it's gonna be on all of them, so I might as well ask now. Can we go up to where it creates the, Okay, so 309.1, that is where Brent's Mill and the reserve at Woodstock is.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to clarify that that comes out and that APU comes out and down Route 1 and kind of does circle around, so it's a road right there that's creating an island around.
It's just, you know, how, and I'm talking about geographic.
Well, we're gonna have
islands.
this problem, I just wanna clarify with the board, that Potomac, or Hills of Aquia right there, that neighborhood that looks, the
Like an island right
turquoise
there.
island
Mhm.
right
Yep,
there.
yep.
This
That's an
one?
island because of the I-95 interchange and Route 1. Also, the Toyota dealership that's in front of it, so that's all.
So you're saying it's, that all that orange there is just industrial?
It's a Toyota dealership, a road, and,
Nissan.
Okay, so
yeah.
it's not like there are homes there that are part of that?
Right,
Gotcha,
yes,
gotcha.
thank you.
Thank you.
Nissan dealership, sorry, I don't wanna call out the wrong dealer.
Do that. Love my Toyota.
I just added the subdivision, so.
Okay, so you can see that it's, yeah.
So, I
Thank you,
mean,
Vicki.
anyway, when we do the final plan, I guess we'll somehow get it connected.
Well,
Taking
if
out
we
the
must,
industrial.
it doesn't matter to me, because I know what's there, but I just wanted my fellow
Yeah.
board members to understand what that actually is. Because we do have to have a little element of common sense when we're talking about some of these things.
Right, and if there's a commercial area there that is zone commercial and it's not gonna have any homes on it, perhaps that should be created as a separate APU, and then, you know, it really wouldn't
And the
be assigned
waterways.
anywhere if it's commercial anyway.
And the waterways like Potomac.
Right.
Or the Quiet Creek.
Yeah, would that,
Part of an
it
APU.
doesn't, I'm not saying do it between now and next week, or even now and the next school year, for planning purposes. You know, we need to know if there's not gonna be any residences here, there's no, and it's a significant piece of land, there's no reason not to set it as an APU. And in the records, this is non-residential property. Because then you wouldn't have that island there.
Right, it's not an
If it was
island.
identified as what it is, which is, you know, not going to be a student base.
So can I ask, in Plan E, I'm just looking down at the schools in my neck of the woods.
Well, we're gonna
oh,
get, that'll
okay.
lead us right in to
Yeah,
E2-1.
Okay.
Which one's next?
Oh, I thought we were doing E21. never
No,
mind.
we were on C2, we're
Okay.
still on C2.
Never mind.
Are we done with C2? Okay, well then if you give us the intro, we'll go to Dr. Chase for the first question.
Okay.
Wait, which one's next?
E2-1.
E2-1. Okay. We're on Plan E2-1 now. Okay, in Plan E2-1, you have the table in front of you. And I just want to read the summary to you. The number of affected students here is 2,869, and the number of neighborhood splits is 9. Now, if you look at the table and you look at the schools, Brent is starting very low at 69. Garrisonville is low, it's starting at 68. Okay. Hampton Oaks is overcrowded, starting at 94.
Wait, what plan is this?
E2-1.
One.
But Hampton Oaks does go down over the years, so.
Yeah,
it's
Hampton
almost
Oaks
a
does go
balance.
down.
They're not gonna be increasing, they're gonna be, well, maybe a half, less than a 0.5%. But- Well, this gives us no 100s at the end, that's a good thing.
So I was just curious how we went down 9% at Hartwood between the previous Plan E and this Plan E. Where did it
I'll tell
happen?
you.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you don't mind, I'll just go through this list and then we'll come back. Okay? And Park Ridge will get overcrowded, so then Rocky Run will get overcrowded. Stafford will get overcrowded. And Winding Creek will get overcrowded by the 15th. Okay? As far as connectivity, contiguity goes, the same island that I talked about, but which we have we could have a solution for that. In the Moncure area, then there is one in the Conway area. Okay, down here, we were, this 132.0 planning unit, they wanted us to put it back in Falmouth. And with that, we do not have a connectivity to the remainder of the Conway area.
But that puts the Clearview neighborhood back together, right?
Clearview Heights.
Right, so the neighborhood is no longer split because we aren't providing a connector for, got it, okay.
So in E21, Clearview is together in Falmouth.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So are you saying there's a little piece that's still in Conway?
No, what they're saying is you
In-
can't drive around
Okay.
that. It's
In
not-
that area, is there, I mean, are you going, there's obviously a road going straight
Right.
through there.
Right,
Well, that's where they are now, right?
yes.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
And where is
But as
Falmouth?
far as connectivity, contiguity goes, there's like a break in the attendance
Right,
area,
right.
which is usually not a good practice. Okay, so that is Plan E21.
does anyone have any questions you want to ask?
I just asked, yeah,
Okay.
so I was just curious how we went down 9% at Hartwood, because it's
Oh.
only gonna be at 78% and
Yeah, in Hartford, we have some changes, so. In Hartford, we had, I'll just find 2 or 3. We have this particular planning unit, which used to be a part of Brent, it's now going to Hartwood.
No, that's the Hartwood Landing that we split over the, that planning unit is Curtis Park, and then half of it is Hartwood Landing. We've just split the Hartwood Landing into
And
two.
then there is another one.
Are they the ones that wrote in and said how far away it would be and how much longer it would take to get up to Brent?
This planning unit and this planning unit, 203.2. These two were added to Hartwood.
Okay, but that doesn't explain why they got lower in number.
Oh,
My
yeah,
question was, how did we go
Oh,
from,
sorry about
well, how did
that.
we go from 76% to 67%?
From the
Not by
original.
adding stuff.
Okay,
Okay.
now we had assigned 275.0 and 275.1 were originally assigned to Hartwood, but then they were moved to Rocky Run.
Okay.
275 what?
It's Cardinal Forest and Berea Knolls.
This one and these two APUs.
Okay.
And there is
Was that?
97 kids
Yes.
in there.
That's not
97?
England one, is it?
No,
No, it's down, the road right at Berea Church Road.
Berea.
They're in the right spot.
They're in Rocky Run now, and what Holly proposed was that they stay in Rocky Run and not be moved elsewhere.
But they were in Hartwood before.
It's
And
a
that
On
is
the
closer.
plan, but not in
No,
the,
we're
not
talking
where
about,
they're currently.
I know this is confusing. When we say where they are now, we mean where they're physically assigned as of today.
What is the APU for?
I know what you're talking about, and I had that problem having these discussions.
Um,
275?
Oh, England Run?
Yeah.
That's the whole list of it. That's everyone.
Did you touch in England Run? Did anybody touch in England Run?
I don't think so.
No, okay,
I
so
have a
there were no
suggestion if we
changes
get
from
there, but
England
we
Run,
can-
Okay.
from what was in the original plans, C and E proposed to us.
Sarah, does that answer your question?
It does, thank you very much.
So,
Okay, any other questions on E1?
So I just want to, so in E1, we have uh, 5 schools that are going to be outside of the 91% in 4 years, right?
Let me see.
Just
Yeah,
okay.
In what, in
Yes.
E1?
In E1,
Okay,
Yep.
that's on this chart. That's not what we know. We can have a separate discussion about some of the
sure.
numbers
Yep,
that
yep,
are
yep.
not the same as what.
all good? Moving on to E22. Okay. In E22, we have complete edits from Mr. Gator and all the other edits. So let's look at the table for E22. The affected number of affected students is 2,252. Number of neighborhood split is 9. So some of the things are what I had talked about in E21, which is Brent is going to start very low at 69%. Garrisonville is low, 68%. Now Moncure is overcrowded, starting at 96%. Park Ridge will get overcrowded. Rocky Run will get overcrowded. Stafford will get overcrowded, but that's in the 3rd year out. Winding Creek will get overcrowded, and that's in the 4th year out. And the connectivity problems are the same. Moncure has it, which we have already discussed, but now Hampton Oaks also gets disconnected. So we have disconnected areas in Hampton Oaks, Moncure, and
Okay,
of
but
course.
again, that is, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Pretty.
I mean, yeah, we've explained that, but Hampton Oaks, and then down south is Falmouth.
Can we look at Hampton Oaks again? I just wanted to see, are there any commercial areas there that are
Yes,
splitting?
that's what I was trying to say. Stafford Marketplace is that large square right there where Hampton
Over
Oaks
here.
is disconnected. That's Stafford Marketplace. So,
Can you drive right across it? or-
yes.
Okay.
I drove it personally.
Sure.
It's a left turn and a left turn to Hampton Oaks.
And in the south, we have this problem where we have
same we had
the
in the
same
other
thing
thing.
that we
Yep.
talked about.
Do you want to look at where Woodlawn is on these?
Again?
You want to look at where Woodlawn is on these?
We're
We're not making it, but just so we can identify. them.
Right, I think Woodlawn's 169.
Oh, yeah. I know they've been talking about it. I
Yeah.
think it's this neighborhood right here. It's a, oh, one second. I think it's this one, yeah.
So it's contiguous to
Yeah, for some
Conway's
reason,
existing
it's in Grafton.
boundary.
Right.
So what, either way, it's,
Where do they
it's
wanna
not
be
gonna
from?
create
They
a,
want to be in Conway, and I pulled out,
In-
right, and I pulled out kids from Conway to Grafton and to Falmouth. So it's like an even swap. It's 2 students difference. So we'll talk about them when we talk about making tweaks.
Yeah. In Plan C, they are already in Conway.
Right, right.
That's it. Move on. Any questions? Now we get to hybrid 1.
Can you explain what you moved, which ones you moved from south
Sure.
and to the north or vice versa? Hybrid one.
or maybe start out showing us what is not changed from the E1.
This is for
Sure.
E. Start with, I mean, C to E.
I want to show you the south first.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
based on Plan C. And there are several good things about this because we have this area that there was a talk about that they wanted to stay in Rocky Run. Then we do not have the Woodlawn issue, it's already there. I do not have any disconnected areas here, and 132 is in Falmouth, so it
Mhm.
looks really good. Woodlawn is good. And now the only issue that I have here is with 275 and 275.1 because they cause like a disconnect between the Hartwood area. And then it's the 188.0, but you can talk about it and let me know what you would like to do with that. But personally, as something recommended, we do not prefer islands in attendance areas, at least geographically visible islands. Now, if you go into road connectivity and other things, but physically identifiable, geographically visible, we do not prefer those. But other than that, this is really good for the south. And in the north, what we have done is we have kept E21. And if you look at, now that you've seen what it looks like, I can talk about the numbers also.
Yeah, let me ask you a question
Sure.
though, with the hybrid, you took south, did you do south with C and then south with E, or
No.
you just did one?
Right.
Okay,
South,
based on
yeah,
E.
based on what was told, we were to take south, C from the, south from the C, and E21 from the north. That is hybrid 1.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Because on E21, Winding Creek starts at 81.60, but on the hybrid table 1, Winding Creek starts at 80.57. Now, it's just 1%, but,
What's
my
causing it?
question is, if we use the same numbers, because Winding Creek was clearly in the north, and we were gonna take the hybrid plan was gonna have Winding Creek from Plan
So,
E.
Madam Chair.
Let me just get an answer to my question,
Okay.
why there is a 1% difference. And if there's not an answer, I don't know, because it was supposed to be the same. And I'm looking at the other schools, just eyeballing them, they look essentially the same. The northern schools are the same percentages on E21 and hybrid table 1. And actually, the northern schools should be the same on E22 as well. And your E22 goes back to the Winding Creek for E21.
Yeah.
Or maybe
I'm
that's,
sure I have a-
or maybe
Maybe
that's,
that's what it
maybe
is.
that's what the answer is. Maybe we have two. They're not the same. They mix them up. No? See, E21, and just, this is just what I caught my eye. One increase on E21 is 81.6.
Mhm.
On hybrid one, it's 80.57. But on hybrid two, it's 81.6. So it looks like E21 is matching up with E22, at least for one increase.
If you,
Is that?
when I look at the maps, you see a slight difference there in where the green is. There's like, Shackleford Farm is half and was,
No, I'm just trying to figure out,
Right, I'm-
because it's important that
Right.
we understand exactly, you know, what these marry up to.
right. And I'm just saying,
Because we're
if I
gonna be
look at
making
the
decisions.
map, if I put these two maps right next to each other, the green doesn't match for both of them.
But it should.
Right.
It should.
Right, no, so that's, I'm
Exactly the
wondering if
same.
that's where the 1% is coming from.
Yeah, let me check. I am going to quickly check.
Okay, well, we can come back to that, but I want to be clear, we all understand, you
Absolutely.
know, what is the difference between these plans,
Sure.
because we're going to be, as I said, making decisions,
Right.
hopefully this evening.
Sure.
Okay, all right, Ms. Young has a question.
Yeah, there's actually a question on matching the South with E. Shouldn't we have matched the South with C also?
We have
We
the
didn't ask.
same.
So, you didn't ask them to do that?
No, and the reason was, I thought the rationale for doing the hybrid was concern about Old Forge staying in Rocky Run matched with what people had in the north for E.
Mine was because C had some stuff that I liked also for the north.
Okay.
And so I thought that we were gonna do C hybrid with C and then C hybrid with E, but it's okay.
Well,
I mean,
the hybrid is part of the north and part of the south.
But the
So
South has two plans, I mean, the North has two plans, there's two plans, there's a plan
And-
C and an E.
But it wasn't requested.
Was
I understand, I hear that.
Well, we
So
would have
we
had
have-
to make a different identification of the
Yeah, that's
northern
okay.
and the southern school if we were to do that. Because my understanding of what we've talked about, and I discussed this with Dr. Chase before we, went with this request, because this was a complicated request. I mean, it was a complicated request, and I'm sure much more complicated to
Yes.
fulfill. But that we wanted to look at C from the south and E from the north. And since we had two E's, we want to look at C from the south with the two versions of the
Yeah.
north.
So when I proposed this suggestion last week, it was to have a hybrid for C as well as the hybrid for E, but we're here now. Because right now, we're just looking at one hybrid that only takes the South with E, not Plan C.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
But C is the south, there's nothing to, unless you identify the hybrid differently,
C
there
is
wouldn't
not
be
just the
another one.
South, there is stuff for North and
Right.
C. And so there is a Plan C and a Plan E, and there is stuff in the North in the Plan C that I liked. But I wanted to just see it, I wanted to see what it looked like, just to see, like we're seeing everything else.
Well, what would you
Yeah.
match it up with? Because
What do you mean, what do you match it up
what
with?
would be different from Plan C by itself that you would
With
put
my,
the
with
hybrid
the
in?
changes that I had, with the changes that, I
Well, your
put in place.
changes are in C.
So, but it's, the changes are in, the changes
What
in
you're
C
asking for
are not
is-
the same in E. I have two different changes in C as well as in E. That's all.
So you
So-
wanted to see all your changes in
No,
one?
so, let's move on, but.
No, I'm just trying to
But
understand this.
you may have, like, say, somebody has the same changes in C and E. I don't have the same
I requested
changes
that
in C
specifically. I said
and
I
E.
want to see
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z in E, and I want to see X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z in C.
So you have two
So
plans.
it was a specific request.
Yeah.
And so that's why I keep saying it, you would have had to have requested to see that, because nobody knew what you're asking, because when we turned everything in by Monday at noon, and then they gave us the layout of what they were gonna be doing, that evidently was not there. You know what I'm saying? What you're asking for to see right now wasn't
No,
in
but
that
I'm saying just the
request.
hybrid. I assumed that we would have a hybrid C and E and C, you know, the south in C and the south in E, but we can move on.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm confused. I did the
Yeah.
best I could on
That's
these.
fine, no,
Yeah,
okay.
you sent out an email that
And I
Yeah, that's fine, no,
specifically
you're
said
good.
exactly
But
what
that's
we
why I
just
sent it to
So
everybody
it was
when
Yeah.
I
very clear.
sent it on, so that if there were any questions or anybody wanted any changes, that was the time
Okay.
to do it. So, all right, so we have the hybrid is part of one and part of the other. And that's what we've got. Part of C from the south and E from the north.
With the changes
With
in E. We need
that's
to make
right.
sure to say that.
With all the
Yeah.
changes, and we've got, that's why
Correct.
we have two versions of E.
Yeah.
So that's what we have. And then we have C, which is plain old C, C1.
Just wanted to address to your question about why it's different, Winding Creek is different. In E21, we had this APU, and for some reason in Hybrid 1, this APU is not in Winding Creek, it's in Brent.
What APU is that?
It is 322.2.
Who is that?
I think it's one you're gonna care about.
What is 322.2? Please tell me.
I believe it would be Augustine North, but I can.
It's not Augustine
not?
North, it's not Augustine North, but
it's like
looking at the
Sherwood.
subdivision site.
325, I know that one.
It's part of Shackelford Farms, and
They're in your district, Holly, that's yours right there.
the edge,
There can't be many kids if it just
it
makes one.
abuts Mountain View Estates,
I
but
mean,
there's
it's
a bunch
less
there.
than 10
It's
students.
what?
There are 10 kids in there.
Yeah, 10, that's what it just said,
Yeah.
okay.
10 kids in there, and the neighborhood is right here, it's called,
So this is yours if you want.
it's called Rolling Meadows, and it's split. So it's split between Brent and Winding Creek, so I guess we decided to put it in Brent, the whole APU. So that Rolling Meadows could be together.
Okay, but
Rolling Meadows is the one that's coming. I think that should be in.
This is the one right here, if you can see my screen.
Thank you.
This is Rolling Meadows.
where was it in
In E21, we had assigned it to Winding Creek. And in Hybrid, we put it in Brent. So in order to keep it consistent, we can put it in Winding Creek.
Why would you have assigned something somewhere if we wanted to go with what was on the plans? I mean, I'm a little confused, a little concerned, because my understanding was that you were gonna take the schools from the north from E. The only changes with the schools from the north for E were the E1 and E2, which is the Widewater, Moncure, Hampton Oaks. maybe
Was
a
it just
little
an
Harvard.
honest mistake?
It must have been
Okay, if it's a mistake,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can live with that as long as this is checked and we make sure there's not any other mistakes, because again, this is what we're talking about, making decisions about going to public hearings. But that's good, I'm glad we caught it, and, you know, we'll discuss that when we get to potential changes, but if you want to make a note, because they're in your district.
I have a question.
Okay, sure.
Mr. Moran or Mr. Townsend, can you tell me, as Moncure is currently districted, the current students, the new Moncure, what is the program capacity supposed to be opening at as it sits currently?
As it sits, as of today?
Yeah, the numbers that we've seen prior to those.
1,086.
1,000, how many?
86.
Okay,
Current capacity.
1,086. And then,
Oh, and that does not include the option 3 special education placement that you guys approved. It does not,
So the numbers go down because of special ed.
yeah, so they come, yeah, right, exactly.
do you know to what, or not?
I believe it's 1050.
Well, here it says
It's-
989.
No,
Yeah,
No,
so
that's,
that's-
that's why I'm
Okay.
asking specifically.
1,015.
But 1,015 is when their first
Right,
tier
I'm
class size
asking
reduced.
current. If
So
it
right
were
now,
to
they're not
open.
class size reduced.
Okay. Right, okay. But you were just saying a number before we were interrupting, and you said 1,050,
15.
and then the room started talking.
15.
Yeah, I believe it's a, I don't want to say the wrong number.
Okay.
1,054 sticks out in my head.
That's what I thought. At some point, I'm just gonna be asking about these program capacities on these different plans. I'm not gonna do it right now because I feel like I don't wanna talk about all 5 of them. So when
Sure.
we get down to 1 or 2, I wanna see really specific details about how that number goes from 1086 and or 1054 down to 989 and I understand.
Class size
that,
reduction
yeah.
for the most part.
Right, yeah. Okay.
And I think I've already spoken about the disconnected areas in Hartford area due to the same APUs. These 2 over here. And then we have already talked about this area where the Conway attendance area is split because of 188 APU. Yeah. Okay. So ready to move on to hybrid 2. Okay. So in hybrid 2, we have number of affected students is 2,252, neighborhood splits are 9, and as you can see, Brent is still low, Garrisonville is low, Moncure is overcrowded, Park Ridge will get overcrowded, Rocky Run will get overcrowded, Stafford will get overcrowded, and Winding Creek is going to be, in the 4th year it starts to overcrowd.
Anybody have any questions?
Where do I go from here?
Well,
That's my question.
good question.
I'm a little concerned, looking at, I mean, I think there might be one or two plans that maybe we can get to the point, but we're supposed to be evening out enrollment to some degree, and we have kind of, we have a lot of schools that aren't between 80 and 90% anymore.
Any other observations?
I think we have to be most cautious in the first 2 to 3, or well, 1 to 3 years, as we are told our outward projections, I think they are accurate as well, but you know, I do look at like the ones in the 1 or 2 years that really shoot up. Those I feel like I kind of hone there. I think that, you know, the projections, we know the growth is coming, you know, we're gonna end up there. I think it will be in here somewhere, but those first 1 to 2 and 3, those are the ones I will tell you I'm kind of circling of. Since we may be shifting around students and stuff, and I know you all have heard me about the resources are important, so I just want to really look closely at how we start off.
Right, and when I see Park Ridge at 60%, I'm kind of dismayed because, yeah. I don't need to say anything more.
C2.
It's the very first one.
Well, there's a lot of,
Well, I'm more concerned about the ones that are at 112, 118, 103%.
Sure,
No, those are a concern too.
Right. And I think
I'm
that's
less
part of-
concerned.
And I think it's part of because it got pulled,
Yeah.
something got pulled out of Park Ridge,
Yeah,
right?
I'm less
Yeah.
concerned about the lower end, I'm more concerned about the higher end.
Right, gotcha.
So my comment is that there's something I would like to see because I didn't see it. And I will request that, so I'll put that aside. But with putting so many changes all at once, instead of slowing it down and bringing some in to see what it looks like at a certain time, I think it would look different than just putting all the changes all at once. But, so in other words, if you just start with one school, like back out what we just did, this is the final, here on, say for example, Plan C2 or Plan C1, whichever, or hybrid. There's some areas that look good for the south, for example, and then you move to Stafford Element and fix that with your changes, your switches, Brook Road, things like that.
Yeah,
And then-
I've only
yeah.
got 2 things.
Right,
so-
and then Anthony Burns, for example, if that's overcrowded, then we fix that and move that along. Versus just looking at it flat and saying, okay, yeah, it's not working. I think that
Well,
when we decide.
but then
yeah.
we'd also have to go, I mean,
Right.
that,
Yeah,
if anybody's asking my opinion, I say we get rid of the C2 right now because of all of those big ones. We've got 3, 4 other plans that we can be working on. 123% capacity for Winding Creek, it's crazy. Absolutely nuts. So I don't see the,
Right, and Burns at 106 or 103 in
And
3
starting at
years?
97.
And starting at 97?
and Rocky Run at 104.
I just, so, if we're gonna start eliminating, let's get rid of this one, like, now.
For discussion purposes, is there anyone that wants to move forward looking at Plan C2 as it is here? No?
no,
No. All right, so thank you very much. We narrowed that down to 4. Okay, do we have any observations on the E2 tables, 1 or 2?
What is your trigger for class size reduction school, or is it different for all schools?
It's not different for all schools.
So what's the trigger?
30%, 3%, or free lunch only.
30% free?
Free only, yes,
Okay, so,
The next tier is
so
at
just,
45.
just because I want to be really clear on something before we move a whole bunch of kids. So, how many so at 34%, it moves it from potentially 1,054 program capacity down to 1,015, being 4% over. So is there ever wiggle room, or is that a hard 30% line?
The qualification is at 30%
Right.
free, and it's calculated
Yeah.
over a 3-year period, or, there's a nuance to the calculation. But
Yeah,
it's
the-
30%. Free lunch only. And then you become the next tier of class size reduction at 45%, free lunch only.
So in E1, it has a lower capacity than E2 because the free lunch numbers are higher. Like you move into the next, right? I'm just.
So
Wow, we have 11 class size reductions under E2, and I think we should count the 29.
are you talking about E22 or E21?
E22, E22, I'm
Let's be
sorry.
clear. Okay.
Yeah, let's say we're discussing E, and let's just call them 1 and 2. But then we don't have to get into all these
Thank you.
extra numbers. All right, so 1 and 2, discussion
So
right now
can you
is about
say
E.
your comment again then?
Well, Matt, why don't you tell us, because you can count more clearly, how many class size reduction schools there are in 1 and how many there are in 2?
6 and 6.
And go ahead and add that 29.62 in.
Yeah, I've been
because
rounding
that's-
up. If
Yeah,
it's- if you round
that's,
up, I'm rounding up.
count that in. Round that up to 30. I count 7.
I count 6, but, oh, you're rounding.
Count 7, yeah, we're counting.
Yeah, 7 with
Okay.
the round.
Okay,
rough
and
round.
I just want to.
And 1?
While people are looking,
7 and 1?
6 plus 1 for the round.
And I
So it'd be
get
7
10.
total.
In which plan? Both plans?
I'm sorry, 1. Yes, I got you. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
so I know I'm harping,
That's right,
and I
absolutely.
might be slightly reaching, but 96% capacity for Moncure, but that's because the class sizes are going to be much smaller than they would be if it was at 96% capacity, let's say, of what its actual max capacity would be.
Correct.
Like-
In order to receive
Like 1,086 students at 96% capacity is like a really full school, but 96% full capacity when we're only working with 1,015 students is not quite as packed of a school as a whole.
But the only thing is to be eligible and maintain eligibility to receive the funds for the class size reduction grant. Your cap of your classes is lower. So
I'm not arguing that. I think that's wonderful. That's a great thing. I just want people to understand that that school, if it wasn't a class size reduction school, the classroom space could potentially hold 1,086 students. But because it's now a class size reduction school, it's holding less students per classroom. So the school is not as packed as it sounds like it is at 96%.
I'd rather
Is
say
that a fair
1,054 just because that
Okay,
incorporates
so,
the.
but the school is not as packed as it sounds like it. Is that just a fair statement? I know I'm reaching, I'll,
Well, yeah, because the hard cap has been reduced to be eligible, but I guess you could always
because
just
there's
not
less
accept the
students per
funds.
classroom, so the school is not as full
Right.
at 96%. Okay, so I just wanted
Yeah, there are less
to be
students.
clear there. Thank you.
And I just wanted, adding on to that. But in order to get the class size reduction funds, you have to be able to have the class sizes at that level. Otherwise,
It's probably,
Yeah.
in all reality, it's probably a harder cap. That 24 is probably to be class size reduced. and maintain your eligibility is probably a harder cap than the 26 for a normal classroom, because we could go over 26 and not lose
Right.
grant money, but we
Right.
cannot go over 24.
Okay, but then, so then the only thing else I'll note, and then I'm gonna leave it alone because you guys are smart people, I would just note that Moncure is projected to go down in the fourth year to 93, and that's all. Okay.
I have a
Carry on.
follow-up question on the class size reduction, because under both plans, 1 and 2, Moncure is a class size reduction school. Yet under one plan, the program capacity is 989, and under the other plan, it's 1,015.
Because
It goes to tier
Because of the-
2
It
at
goes to tier 2.
45%.
Gets 45% free lunch.
So
Which is
that
why
means
I
the
didn't
classes
want
are
to
even
request
farther
that
reduced?
shift.
That's
Yes.
correct. So you're reduced to 23 K through 3 class size.
And where is that cutoff? What percentage?
Begins at 45% free.
45. Okay, and we have it as 45.37?
Mhm.
Are they exactly 45? I mean, if that goes down to 44.98?
You didn't get the extra resources.
Yeah, I believe it's.
I'm
to be
just
at least
curious
80%.
because, I mean, these projections, when we're talking about, you know, a percentage of a percent,
And an entire neighborhood.
And it's
you know, who knows?
And it's a 3-year average.
Oh, wow.
And we need to be aware that
So
we probably, I don't know
We won't get
whether do we
anything
get
for
to
3
consider
years.
this a new
All
school?
right, so what
or
will
do
happen,
we-
because you redistricted, over the summer, we will tell the state what we believe the percentage will be. And on September 30th, it will be confirmed. So if a school was free, a class size reduction school this year, and they fall below 30%, we would not be eligible for the funding, nor would we be required for the smaller class sizes. And then the same thing, if it became over 30%, after that, this year, then it's on a 3-year average.
Okay.
Okay, but a redistrict, when you redistrict, you get a 1-year opportunity to go up, to go become a class size reductive school or not. Okay.
So under either 1 or 2, Hampton Oaks is not going to be eligible, because under both of these, they're under 30.
Right.
Correct. And that non-eligibility is reflected in the program capacity figure.
Okay, all right. So do we just lose the money for a year while we're moving the?
Well, the division gets, again, the money is earmarked for the division, so we don't necessarily lose the money. It'll go to another school.
Could we give it to Moncure, since that's where the?
Yeah, well, if Moncure's, yeah, the money is really
Okay.
just paying for staff,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, just so we take it through the whole, since we might as well just take it all through. So, Matt, should we have with Rocky Run being at the 29.62? Let's make the opposite assumption. What would that do to Rocky Run's capacity of 941? Would that change it back to the 966 or 950? I don't know what it would, I think it would go up because
So
it
you're
would
saying
not
that
be.
that don't round them up?
Let's round them down because I mean, I'm just trying to get an idea of when we're that close, it could matter, you know, of what that percentage would be.
Let me just, as you already know, the trend in Stafford, like the rest of the state, your numbers are only going to go up
For free and reduced.
for free and reduced, yeah.
I mean, I think it though also depends on what I was just, what would the capacity be, just so?
It would be 978.
78, okay.
Well, I think Mr. Cater makes a good point. In all of these plans, Moncure is going down. No matter whether you look at A1 or 2, Moncure is going down. So to start a little higher is not going to have the same effect as starting higher in a school that is moving up the other direction.
Except I just would note that at 96%, with the class size reduction and all of that, starting it at 96%, the principal will have more staff, that he is having to bring in new staff into the building to open a school, it may be more challenging, that's all.
I'm just sitting here.
I believe in you. I find you to be incredibly capable.
He's not the principal of Moncur, though.
And I think Greg Mackey's extremely capable.
Okay.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Right.
Is this the time, are we waiting to do possible ideas?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're just making observations, asking questions. If we're through that, then we can start with making suggestions. Any other questions or observations, Ms. Young? You have any? Mr. Gables? No more? You're done, right? Is he good? Dr. J?
Glaring at me.
Dr. Ms. Hauser, your turn.
I think this was the one where there was the decision about the rolling meadows.
Which one are you talking about, one or two? Oh, I know which one you're talking about. You're talking of, no, you're talking about the hybrid. They're the same in this one. They're the same here, wherever it is. It's in Winding Creek, right? It's in Winding Creek and,
Yes.
okay, it's in Winding Creek in 1 and 2. It's in the hybrid where it flips.
I'm just saying in terms of that, I never thought I would say this, having been an American parent, that they're running low. I'm just thinking that would be an easy switch because it's something that hasn't been built yet, but we can get to those later. I mean, it's
Oh,
not
it
a lot.
hasn't been built yet? Go ahead.
We have a lot of
It's
We're
that.
not here.
We're
We're not displacing anybody. We're not saving seats in an overcrowded school, so.
I mean, I think that that's like 10 kids or
Oh,
something.
10, every little bit helps. When you're under.
I mean, I'm just saying, and I'm not, it's one that's to be built. It seems like kind of a preemptive, let's put it here.
10 kids is 1% of Winding Creek.
I mean, it takes
More
you
or less.
lower too, but
Yeah.
it seems like, I never thought I'd see Brent.
All right, so what number is that?
322.
I think she found it for me now.
322.0.
So do you want to suggest that go from Winding Creek to Brent?
I think so. I mean, I don't think it impacts.
What APU are we talking about here?
322, it's in the Hollies District, it's called Rolling Meadows, and it would basically reduce Winding Creek by 1% and increase Brent by 1%. Approximately.
Okay, that's at 10.
I mean, it seems like kind
Yeah.
of an easy
Are you
one.
looking at E2?
Well, both.
It's kind of one you don't.
It's the same, it's the same with both.
When you,
Yeah.
but if you can move something that's not
Right.
really built and moving, I think they're beginning to move dirt, but that's okay.
And there's another subdivision in Winding Creek called Winding Creek. I don't know
Oh, wait a
what
minute,
APU
is it in
is.
Winding Creek? Let's wait a
319.
minute before you start moving to
No,
my
I'm just
constituents.
saying where, no, it's in my
yours?
district.
Oh, okay.
319.
It's in
It's
my
called,
district.
you said Winding Creek.
I know, but the
Yeah,
that's what it's
subdivision is
called.
called Winding Creek.
Yeah, what APU is that?
That's what I'm
319.
asking. 319?
319?
How many, how many-
319 is the big Mondo
Oh,
unit.
it's 3.
That's the problem.
There's just 3.
3?
And
Yeah.
it's gonna be more than that.
But-
319.1 is 57.
But where would you move it to?
Where is it?
Is Brent low?
Well,
It's not
no,
anywhere
it's
near
not,
Brent.
it's
Oh,
not.
So-
Park Ridge is
That's
too
why
high.
I'm like,
319?
Where is it?
It's in Winding Creek right now.
There's only 3 students there now, so. But where, can you show us where it is on the map?
319.1.
Oh, 319.1 is
No, I'm
right.
looking for the one that's called Winding Creek subdivision. Matt, can you tell us which one that is?
It's in this.
The one
planning
that's
unit
not,
with
that's
Winding
not
Creek
built,
School.
there's no ground turn, no houses, no nothing.
It's in-
On 319?
It's probably one of those APUs that'll have to be divided as time goes on because there's gonna be 3 or 4 things. I
Okay,
think
well, we
that's-
can hold that thought for now, because 3 really isn't going to make a difference. But it's something I would certainly like to consider if we're trying to reduce some of these areas, if we can meet our other criteria and move, you know, in a development that is not built at this point. That would be my, you know, first choice.
And then
Go ahead.
I mean, the other option, and it's hard for me to, sort of think about this sort of with Hartwood, with knowing what's coming, there is a potential add in the inland run area to Hartwood that could balance out some stuff, but I have no idea what the impact would be. That's the, I know number-wise it would be a large number. And those would be 144, 144.1 and 144.2.
If we're,
I mean, it's just a nice, it's a way to, so we can come back.
I'm sorry, could you,
We can come back.
how many people? I mean,
It's 131 kids
Oh, wow, and where were you moving them?
into Hartwood.
From where?
I'm looking, I'm like, I'm in Winding Creek, we're not, I'm sorry.
What's
Stick,
the-
stick with your Winding
Yeah,
Creek stuff.
don't touch
over
mine.
here. Don't touch it. I don't want any more. Keep your 319
Amy,
people.
this is where Winding Creek neighborhood is. It's a big planning unit, so.
What's the APM? I mean,
The APU is 319.0.
319?
Yeah.
19? 319?
Now, why did that AP remain so large? I know that you've gone in and did adjustments to apply harder. Why didn't we do it to some of the other communities that had extraordinarily large APUs?
Yeah, so that one, it's very sparse in the middle and on the edges currently. So in order to reach the 30 residential unit threshold that was established, that's just what it looks like.
So you did look at it?
Absolutely, yeah.
You went across
you
the
can
board
see
and looked at all
the
of
fact that it has a dot, anything after it was an edit. So 319.0 means that I touched it.
Got it. Okay.
Has a school in it too, so. You can't touch.
I wanted to request on versions of E that we move 117 from Grafton Village to Conway, that's Woodlawn.
I'm sorry, you said on Plan E?
Either plan, both Plan
Both
Es.
Plan
I don't know
Es.
which one will go
Moving,
forward,
okay.
but
And the hybrid too, because the hybrid.
the hybrid
all-
is C, so
oh,
it's
already
already
there?
done
Okay.
in C.
Yeah, in the hybrids it's good. This one you're talking about, Woodlawn.
Right. And that's an even,
C.
yeah.
And does that balance out the ones that you moved
Yeah.
out of Conway to move to Grafton?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
moved-
essentially
I
a
moved-
wash?
I moved 47, I moved 47 out, and I'll be moving 49 in, but then in 4 years, it'll turn into 48 and 50.
Okay.
So in terms of the change, it's pretty much a wash.
Does anybody have any comments on that, or just?
I mean, Conway in both of these plans is at 82%, going up to 86%, so it will it'll still be within that window of capacity that we're looking for.
That's with the Woodlawn move?
With the
it puts it
Woodlawn
to
move.
86.
With Grafton, it pulls Grafton down a little bit, but not a huge amount. Grafton should still be within the range that we gave the consultants.
Woodlawn has 50 kids.
Okay,
This APU has 50 kids.
yeah.
Right, but we should essentially be back where we started before any of the adjustments were made in there.
Right,
Because
because when we
Dr.
pulled
Chase took
Clearview
out the
out
same
and when we
ones put
pulled
in.
Falmouth Village and Leland out of Conway, we took almost 50 kids out. So now we're just putting 50 kids back in.
Interesting thing to note, currently there are 61 kids, but it's going down to 50.
Yeah, I know, I saw that.
Pretty, can we look at Ferkridge for a minute on
Sure.
E1? 2-1. So I had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edits in there.
Did your name move? Because I looked at the same thing. Your name may have moved somewhere else on this chart.
Park Ridge is exactly the same percentage in both 1 and 2. Were there any changes to Park Ridge from 1 to 2?
This is C.
There shouldn't have been.
This is C.
Oh, okay.
So Plan
Yeah.
E, version 1.
Yeah.
Can you see the map?
You had these changes here. You had
So
settlers.
Settlers Landing going
Yeah.
into Park Ridge, and that is 252 and 253.
Yes, ma'am.
So did I miss anything for Settlers?
No, you got.
Okay, so it's just those two, right?
Yeah,
So we moved 253-1.
and you got the whole of settlers.
Is that part of Settlers too?
This is settlers landing.
Okay, so that's goes to
That's
Park Ridge.
Yeah,
And then the 255.0 and 255.1, that was assigned to, one was assigned to go to Barrett and one was assigned to go to Garrisonville, right?
no,
255.0
no. 255,
and .1.
255.0 is now assigned to Barrett, and 255.1 is assigned to Park Ridge. That's what you're
No,
asking.
no, no, 255.0 was assigned to Garrisonville.
But
Originally, I'm looking at the original one.
Okay,
And then you had 255.1 assigned to Barrett.
yeah,
And so I try to take them both back into Park Ridge,
Yes.
but one is going to Barrett, and since Barrett, is at 80, they could go back to Barrett, but just leaving Garrisonville by itself, I think, I can't remember how many students there were,
18.
18?
Going down
It
to
doesn't make
17.
sense for them to be 18 all by themselves in Garrisonville when they go to middle school. It'll be like
Oh.
one per class, so it doesn't, so that's just that.
you're talking about this APU. Okay,
Yeah, so
255,
if we put those two back
Yeah,
together
yeah,
at Barrett, instead of just one at Barrett and the other one at Garrisonville, put them both at Barrett, that would reduce the Park Ridge number.
oh, so you want 255 and 255.1 to go to Barrett.
Right, like that's where one was assigned to Barrett and the other one was assigned to Garrisonville, which didn't make sense to me, have that
Okay,
18 kids all by themselves.
okay.
And so that would
I would take 36 out. Park Ridge.
take care of six.
That would be 40,
Oh, no.
40.
40? Okay,
Actually, I take it back. That would be, yeah, 36 kids for
Okay.
1920, for 2019.
So that's about 3%?
Is it break time?
Can find it. Sorry about that.
So. So are you saying the 316.0 and 316.1, bringing them into Hampton Oaks, increased it to, with no other changes, increased it to 94%?
Yeah, there is a solution for that. If we sent one planning unit, this planning unit to Moncure, then Hampton Oaks neighborhood would be together and the numbers would be good.
Is
The planning unit?
what number is
It's
that one?
247.
247?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then what's
247,
the,
hold on one second, let me see.
Is that the
247.
apartments up to the Quiet Town Center?
I'll tell you what it is.
247 is 44.
It's the town center at Aquia.
what would be the solution for, because it's the same thing on, her requests are the same thing for E1 and 2, but on E2, that can't happen at Moncure. So what would be your solution for E E2?
I'm talking about E21 right now.
Yeah.
So when
So
we get
can
Well,
you-
there.
E2 Hampton
we'll
Oaks
talk
starts at
about that.
85, so you may not need that solution.
Yeah, can you move that to Moncur and see what it does?
Yeah, it makes it, I've already done it, it works perfectly.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
it's good. If we make that move,
Okay.
it's Hampton Oaks, the numbers are good. then.
Okay, perfect. So Hampton Oaks is good. Winding Creek is good. Park Ridge is good. What would be the percent? That would be, you said the 3%, right? Park Ridge. With moving 36 to Barrett, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and Barrett has space.
Burns is good. And Burns includes your changes, right?
The one APU
Yeah.
for Townsend Ashley.
Yeah.
They currently go to.
Okay, perfect. All right.
And so in this plan, what about Rocky Run and Stafford? Those two are not within what we were talking about.
Well, we also talked about the knowing our community and
Sure,
what our
absolutely.
tolerance level
Sure.
is, and speaking to the PTO and to some staff and others through the grapevine.
Right.
That they're quite pleased with what the numbers are presented.
Okay.
There
So,
was this one APU that I was suggesting. Anyway,
I'm sorry?
yeah, that's fine.
I want to make an observation on Winding Creek. I think it starts fine under both of these. And I think part of this escalation in these projections is based on a projection that because their area is in the courthouse corridor, it's going to just explode. And we're talking about Augustine, which is a built-out, established subdivision, which one section is projected at 12% increase, another section is at 19, and the third one is at 40, and the 40 is, on the road. And the answer was that, if I'm correct, Matt, did you say that the consultant just said, not these consultants, another consultant said, because it's in the growth area along Courthouse Road. Now, it's certainly not reasonable to expect, one area to grow 3 times as much as another, when it's the same subdivision. And I think we're in an area that is built out just like many of our other subdivisions. And I think you're seeing in some of these where the numbers are actually going down. I'm not suggesting the numbers are going down, but I would suggest that the numbers are not going to increase at the rate they're put in here. And we're talking about some fairly significant, I think, over projections there.
Well,
So-
we talked about this before. The same thing happened, not just with Augustine, we'll use that as a perfect example, but look at Brooksmill. Look at there's no more land out there to be had.
Right. Yeah, and I'm just making this observation because under both the 1 and the 2 for E, it appears that Winding Creek is going to be, it states that they're going to be at almost 98%. And I don't believe that that's going to be the case, if it's based simply on those projections we were given,
And
knowing those areas.
Right,
So-
and I'd also like to add that other things are happening in the community too as well. It was just in the paper a couple of weeks ago that their Virginia Land Trust came in and basically we have a whole area of additional conservation next to where Crow's Nest is. So if that's in one of our APUs, we can take those numbers out now. They just finalized it in January, so that could be several other, kids that we can remove from the Stafford Elementary APU equation.
Right. And that's part of what we say, and I guess I would have it as the human factor part too, that we, knowing our communities, know some facts that perhaps the original consultant didn't know, or, and you don't have anything to do with this because you just use the numbers that we gave you, which are the best that were available. But I'm not uncomfortable with this Winding Creek number as it is, because I do not think it's going to be, the growth is not going to come, at least not based on the projections that we have now, looking specifically at the Augustine.
And I think something after we finish this process, that we have some discussion about what we've learned, what we've seen, what we understand in general about this process, not while we're in the middle of the process. Because I do think that the board should consider a somewhat, a policy or something about preemptive redistrict, of things that when they start building or right before, we get some kind of notice so that we can look at it and say, where should this go? Because some of our growth, and Hartwood's a good example, well, really all over the county, we abut each other's land, we're on each other's, there's big tracts of land next to established neighborhoods, and then when that goes, game changers happen, and we may have, you know, some ability to choose where those go. So I just think that's something, not tonight, but just something for us to think about as a board. And for that reason, even though Rocky Run's figures seem high there, some of the Stafford Lakes stuff, I think that we could make a possibly a different decision on what may be coming into Stafford Lakes. They're in the midst of figuring out whether they will expand. And it's sort of to the Hartwood side, that whole potential 107 could go.
But I guess I have a little bit of an issue with, you know, with Falmouth being at 89, 90%, 35% free lunch, when we have, and we have Rocky Run at 88, 92, 94, and we've got Hartwood at 67. I mean, we're doing something there that maybe doesn't seem quite kosher to me.
Well, and that's why I kind of suggested a look potentially at those 144s that are in Falmouth now, moving to Hartwood to try and balance some of that. That would be,
Why don't you
Okay,
give us-
but I have no idea what it would do, so that's why I didn't know if we were to that point of saying, can we see what it does? Is that,
think
okay, is that
Any
what we?
to that?
No, we could see what it does. I would like to see that. Pretty, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Maybe you answered it already between Winding Creek,
Hold that.
2020, 2021. What's that 7% increase, like real quick? Did you answer that already?
Which one?
Winding Creek,
Mm-hmm.
2020, 2021. Went from 81 to 88?
It's probably because it's
Oh.
on that courthouse road corridor, and the numbers,
That's
the
a question
consultant just
from that.
assumed that it's
Projection.
Yeah, that's in the projections.
That's the projection.
7%?
Yeah.
Is that because it's on the courthouse road corridor though?
And there's certainly active developments occurring in the Winding Creek zone along that 30 corridor currently. So, you know, right there to the left of Colonial Forge,
Yeah.
Liberty Mills West is there. There's another development down the way. Winding Creek is approved.
Mhm.
Embry Mill currently, I don't know where Embry Mill is.
They're in
Embry Mill's
Park Ridge.
in this E2,
In
E21.
E.
Yeah,
Okay.
both- all of these.
And in C there, partial.
Okay.
I do want to add one thing, you know, the Winding Creek numbers may go down a tad bit, 1% if we get, if we move this APU out.
The Rolling Meadow. Yeah, we already said right, Holly?
Yeah,
Yes.
so,
10 students.
yeah.
So we're down 1%.
So can you
So
go
This
ahead?
is a test we want to score low on. Did you have anything?
No, I'm good. Burns is good. Something else is good. My first school something there. So,
Okay, anybody have anything else before we get back to Ms. Hazard's suggestions? What she's got, and this is, you know, really between the two of you.
Yep.
Some suggestions to move some students out of Falmouth and into Hartwood, so.
what happened to Old Forge? I know it's not my
Well, this
area.
is E, and E has Old Forge going to Conway.
But I thought Old Forge, I visited them and talked to them just to know what the issue was, because I was trying to figure out a little bit of everyone with their issues. and they wanted to stay at the school they were at. They didn't want to go to Conway because of that. They're able to get closer, and they like the school. They said they're excited to be there.
Right, and I think we can address that when we get to hybrid.
They are there in the hybrid.
They're in there in the
Because
hybrid.
we're on
Okay.
E now,
Right.
so I was
Okay.
trying to see if we
Right.
could do some things.
Right.
I mean, there's actually a couple different switches, but the
Say
problem
that
is
again.
without knowing additional information. Dr. Chase, would you like me to try this or
Sure.
not?
I mean, I feel like, you're pulling kids out of Falmouth, correct?
I'm
Or are-
trying
Are you
to-
putting any kids into Falmouth?
We're doing some swaps, as you can see, so
Ah.
that you can try and get additional.
All right, I guess I would want to know whether you're going to change the free and reduced
That's-
lunch numbers to
right.
above what we've
Right.
talked about there being.
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
Without the information, I wasn't able
Right.
to run it. So
Right.
it was just sort of a thought to see if it would
And
possibly
talked
help
about the
everybody
failures
and
numbers
bring
being?
down the
so
attendance.
she's
the capacity
suggesting,
of-
if she was just taking them out of Falmouth, it would probably not have any effect on, the percent would go down, the free and reduced lunch might be affected a little bit, but if you're putting kids in, you're like swapping, then I don't know what effect it's gonna have
So you
on
swap them.
Falmouth.
Okay.
Just taking
Is that
out-
not in the pivot table?
We're doing, it was
I
Are
trying
there any that
to,
you just want to take out?
we can try, I think then it takes Falmouth really low if we take out 131, but we can.
Can you fit
Try.
that many in Hartwood?
I think,
I know.
now, under my calculations, again, you're working with the numbers we have. We don't have it like this, so, 571 divided by 640. I mean, that would take it to, an 85%, and if there were if there was the additional, it was also to try and make it look like we kept everybody together, so that it was as much a visual, because I wanted to, then we can take some out. Like I said, this is just an option to try and do it, but it does require several things, but I have no idea what the final result will be.
And I guess for me, there's a real concern. We've heard a lot of advocacy from parents. And I'll just share with you my story. When I was in first and second grade, I was with a set of kids who I really enjoyed, and I had a mother who didn't do the PTO and who didn't do advocacy. And so in third grade, suddenly I wasn't in those classes anymore. And so I learned that it's really important to advocate for your kids. But we have a lot of kids in Old Forge and in some parts of England Run that don't have parents to advocate for them. And so I just want to be a little careful about, we've heard from a lot of parents who said, I don't want my child to have to go through changing schools. And we have children here who are going to be very, potentially, they already have enough sort of, they already have enough adverse childhood experiences in their life, and this will be another one. And I know Ms. Hazard and I are on the same page on this, in that we don't have that information, and so I'm a little reluctant to just say, let's
Right, and that's why I was saying, can we
move-
do it in a sub-plan, like,
Because
just so we can see it?
Because I would like to do less movement for those groups if we can, and their parents don't even know to call us and talk to us about these issues. So that's where I am with some of
And
this.
I could second what Sarah is saying, because this is what we decided when we talked about redistricting phase 2 for Hampton Oaks, where we were going to send some kids back to where they live so that they could walk, and their parents could also walk to Moncure, be able to make meetings, and they're living in their community.
You all asked for solutions?
So, Yep,
no,
I was
no,
providing
no,
one
no,
for,
we were
because
just
England
saying.
Run to me is an issue.
So-
With 5 elementary schools, to me, when we looked at this plan, this was an opportunity when we did a full redo of elementary schools. I felt that we needed to look at England Run, that it was unfair for 5 schools
So I kind of did a drive of what I thought made more sense.
Right.
It does not have to be run, I'm just saying, but I have put in the work to say, let's make sure this does make sense, because everybody had looked at those plans over the last few years and said, what in the heck happened here? How do we have 5 schools for a very dense area? But I think there is a logical way, but without all the information, we can only guess.
And so what I'm saying
that's
is, I don't know that we can get our answers tonight, so.
Right, and so I
we-
can put it away, but I'm
No, no,
just saying there are.
But keep it, because I think we want to look at it, but maybe we can't do that, like,
We can't do that and have a public hearing next week.
okay.
And if we
And
don't
how
have a
many-
public hearing next week, we're not going to be held to do the redistricting
How many
decision on
children
March 26th.
are coming out of that APU, the Old Forge?
225.
Okay, so that's a lot.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess one of my main concerns, if we're talking about that, because, you know, we did a lot of advocacy in my area for getting our children back to the schools that are closest to them. When, you know, we talked about public transportation and we talked about walkability. My main concern, and I'm not sorry.
Right.
I'm concerned that we never saw them or had any advocacy for them in their closest school, yet we did just have some advocacy to move some other people back into a school that is the closest for them. So, and I'm not trying to be snarky, but they have a closest school, but we've never seen that option. And if we're advocating for these children that have had a lot of...
Do you mean Falmouth is their closest school? So these children were at Falmouth when Rocky Run opened. They opened with Rocky Run. So when Falmouth opened, there wasn't the decision of where they were versus other. I mean, if you look, you can see it's very dense right around Falmouth. Right, there are a lot of kids right there. So there isn't room to put them in Falmouth.
Well, I know. I had to move 225, not had to, needed to, wanted to, move 250 kids back into Moncure because it was the closest school. And that's a very dense area as well. And we had to move people out to make sure that they were, I'm just saying, if we're advocating.
Right.
These are in the George Washington district.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
All right, E2, anything else? Doesn't look like, I think we
Well,
move on from
if there's
E2.
anything that we're going to consider, I think we need to do it this evening, if we're going to move forward. Because I don't want to make any changes, any significant changes, after we put these out for the public hearing, because the public will have a reasonable expectation that these are the plans that we're looking at. And, you know, there may be some tweaks, there may be some adjustments, but there's not going to be any major kinds of moves or switches. Now, if it would help, we can take a little break. I don't know if you've got your maps. Did you want, I mean, and Dr. Chase in effect has Mr. McOster's proxy.
Right.
So, you know, if you all want to take a look at that and consider it, you know, if it will relieve Falmouth and add some capacity to add some students to Hartwood, it sounds like a win-win as long as it's not going to be a disservice to the students and families that are moved. I mean, we're not going to move them for our convenience if it makes sense and it's better for them, you know, to have that move. By the way, I don't think those people, that area that we're moving back to Moncure, I don't think they're going to be walking to the new Moncure. They might have been able to walk to the old Moncure, but the new Moncure is a little farther
It's a
away.
little further.
There's no sidewalks or
But they're
anything
not
there.
crossing that main Garrison.
No,
so
I mean,
that's
it's a good,
important.
it's a
But I'm
good
just
thing, but
saying
there's
that
not going to be a walking zone.
but they do walk from where they are, cross-extend and walk to Hempel's.
Well, it'll be a shorter walk. But they
Yeah.
got sidewalks coming down
Yeah.
Mine Road.
And then there's a freight bus at Giant also,
Okay.
in that Giant area. Yeah.
And that's something else, I think, I mean, this is an aside, but at some point, once we have a decision, if we get to that point, by the end of the month, we should be getting in touch as a school district with Fred to see if they could make some adjustments in some of their, you know, their bus runs. Because I know they go up to you know, in the north, they go a lot of different places, so.
Yeah, supervisors can request that.
And we could, okay, well,
So
then we can
next time
request the
at your
supervisors.
chair, or vice chair meeting, maybe you can bring that up.
And for individuals that, a lot of individuals have phones, suggesting that we start putting that information on the text, like we are doing when schools are closed and things of that nature. Start putting some information there. Meetings and, you know, public hearings and
So,
stuff like that.
Matt, do you have free and reduced lunch percentages for the APUs in England Run?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so if maybe we could take a break and Ms. Hazard and I could take a look at that and.
Just see, I mean, it may be.
The rest
a
of
lot,
us can
we just
take a
don't
break.
get-
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yes, you all take it.
Put your application back.
Okay, yeah, let's, if there any other questions before we take a break?
Yeah.
No one has any.
So,
What did you all, you
right,
all work out
so what we, with the changes that Ms. Hazard recommended.
Excuse me, we're starting again, I'm sorry. We're
The
trying to hear.
changes that Ms. Hazard looked at would have Falmouth going down to 85%, and in 4 years, it would actually go down to 81%.
Are you talking about E,
Yep.
1 and 2?
Yep,
Okay.
Yep. And free lunch numbers, in theory, you never know what's going to happen, but next year would be projected to be at about 32%, which is lower than 35%.
Not much change, right?
No, so, but it's a change in the correct direction. Hartwood would be at 80% next year, and then it would go up to 92% in year 4, and its free and reduced lunch goes down to 15%.
It's amazing.
Yep. And
Well,
then
how do you feel about that?
We're still, I'm
we're
running
still-
one more thing.
we're
If you
still-
want to
Yep.
have another part
Right.
discussion while I,
Right, and I'm going to give you the rest of this, which is Rocky Run is not hugely affected, and so I do have some concerns there. It goes down to 87% in year 1, 95% in year 4, but, and here's the win, free and reduced goes down to 26%, which would up the capacity, so that 95 would no longer be 95%.
Good job.
So,
Good job. This
um,
well,
but
we're still working.
What my concern is
Going in the
that
right
we're,
direction.
to make this happen, we're not moving kids
Right.
who, I don't want to, I'd like to avoid moving kids who are more likely to have these adverse childhood experiences. So she's looking to see whether those groups.
Who
are-
we're moving.
Who we're moving.
Well, you know, I hear what you're saying, and I probably had adverse childhood experiences growing up,
Right.
but I don't want to penalize other kids because they don't. I mean, that's just, I just feel like we need to look at all these kids equally.
Mhm.
And I hear what you're saying, and I do think if we do move somebody that there's families or neighborhoods that don't have their own transportation, that it is incumbent on us to try to provide extra. And don't some of the schools, Holly, provide transportation to school events for, you know, some of these
Rocky Run does.
neighborhoods? Rocky Run does.
Thought they-
So
that- you
I
can
think
go by
that's
the
something we can
activity
do,
Right.
but I'm reluctant to say, I'm
I
not
just
gonna
want
move
the
these people.
information.
Yeah, I
just
know,
want
but I'm
the-
just telling you where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Keep going, you're doing great. We were
So you won't
having
move on.
no, we were having a
I'll re-engage.
sidebar on how many plans do we want to take to public hearing. Right now, we're looking at 4, we're looking at E1 and E2 and the 2 hybrids. Ms. Decatur and Ms. Young both want their plans
Mhm.
put forward, and I think that would give all of us a chance to really examine them and learn more about them between now and the hearing, but also the public can come and comment. I mean, that's the whole reason we put these out for the public, so
Okay.
that the public can come and say, you know, this is my preference. I mean, it's not a popularity contest, and it's not how many emails we get or how many people come to speak, but it's something we certainly want to take into consideration.
I mean, for me, I don't have strong feelings at this time, E2-1 versus E2-2. As you know, where I'm coming from is still hoping for perhaps this hybrid, but I'm not sure that that's going to work either. So I don't have, you know,
Okay, so
I don't
you have no objection to having E1 and E2?
I don't have any objection to
Good.
having E1
Okay, so
and
we're not
E2.
officially making this decision until this work session ends and we go into our special call meeting, but if that's something, Ms. Hazard, how do you?
I
feel about that, putting both E plans as is? Or with the little tweaks that were made
Right.
this evening? Okay.
I
now-
really am working on this.
Oh,
No, I know.
I'm sorry
I know
we're
you are.
interrupting you.
Yeah.
No, no,
Um,
this is important. I'm not, I
Right.
want to be part of the group. Thank you.
All right, so the hybrid.
Right.
I understand, the desire for the hybrid, and I think it's good to have a
Right.
choice.
Right.
Do we want to go with one hybrid or two hybrids? And Mr. Cater, you had a
Yeah. I would,
feeling on that?
Oh, no, I have a very strong feeling between E21 and E22, and I would need to look at the two hybrids. And if you're interested, I'll let you know my strong feelings between the 1 and 2s.
I mean, I think the two hybrids are similar to the two
Yeah,
E's for,
that's right.
for you guys.
The
For-
only difference between the hybrid should be the difference between E1 and E2 for the north.
Right, right.
So what, if you like E1 or E2, then you're gonna like that version of the hybrid.
Okay, then if you're asking what my opinion is, I vote to put forward Plan E22 and Hybrid 2. That's my choice.
I prefer E22 very strongly as well.
What about the hybrids?
Hold on, let me just look at the hybrid one again.
Well,
No,
it's-
no, no,
it's-
yes, I prefer the hybrid 2.
Mhm.
If we're gonna put a hybrid forward, it'll be 1, and I don't have any plans left, except C is gone, so I'll have to do Plan E21.
Okay, now in the hybrid, I have a question for you, Ms. Young. In the hybrid, you made some proposed changes. Are you hybrid 1 or hybrid 2?
1.
Okay, so you made some changes to hybrid 1 that lowered Hampton Oaks numbers and lowered, right, that kind of, so
Yeah.
you would be putting forward a hybrid 1 that had the changes you made to
Correct.
E1? Okay, I just want to make
Chrissy
sure.
has those, right? You have my changes, right? Okay. So those changes could go for hybrid 1 as well as for just hybrid 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
And before we
E1.
vote on those, we really need to see those numbers, because what that does is it puts us, so the request was to move XYZ neighborhood out of Park Ridge back into Barrett, and then it moved in order to fix something or another, it moved a neighborhood out of Hampton Oaks and into Moncure. And in that plan, Moncure is already in tier 2 at 45.37 free. And I would really need to see what that does to Moncure's free percentage with that neighborhood shift. And I don't think it would be fair to vote on that or moving a plan forward until I don't know, maybe not do what you want, but I think anyone would.
So you're saying, I'm just reiterating so I understand what you're saying. So you're saying in hybrid 1, some of those changes, in hybrid 1, Moncure is in tier 2.
The change
Hybrid
was,
1 and E1.
the change was
Right.
requested
Do you
for
have those
both of
numbers now?
them.
The
Right.
true
Yeah.
just
Right.
can pull up-
Okay.
can
And
pull
so
up?
I'm just making sure I understand. So what so in E1 and hybrid 1, Moncure is at 45%, which is tier 2.
Currently, tier
And
2
so what
for
you're
reduced.
wondering is with the changes that Ms. Young has made, has it lowered below that back into tier 1?
Oh, no, it's not gonna lower it.
Okay, I don't know, I didn't.
Were you able to give us those, the free
Yeah.
reduced, is that Matt?
Free, we want free numbers.
Okay, she has those, okay.
You want me to give the numbers which you're ready?
Well, this
With
is
the-
for
with
the
the-
neighborhoods that
With the
Ms. Young
change, so you got the
suggested
change,
we
so
move
if you can't
from Hampton
produce it right
Oaks
now.
to Moncure.
Or is
The
that Matt
changes
that did
that you have
Okay.
recommended are from Park Ridge to Barrett, so it would not affect Moncure's numbers.
Okay, but you said I have a solution for that.
Yeah,
Right.
that is,
I was listening. I circled it when
Good
you said
memory.
it.
yeah, this particular APU
Yeah,
going to
it's a
Moncure.
quiet town center.
Yeah, and I can find out how many free,
How many students are in there?
there are
Those are the apartments up there.
44 students.
And that is, you have to be at a certain income. You can't be above a certain income
Correct.
to qualify there.
There are 44 students, going to be in 2019 and 2020, and the free flag is 18, so 18 out of 44.
So wait, is that unit already in Moncure, or you would
No,
move it?
it's
So we
in
don't want to
Hampton
move,
Oaks.
we don't want to move
So
anything
that's
into
about 40,
Moncure,
that's
do we?
about 40% free.
But do we,
So it
Okay.
probably would not have an impact if it's 40% for that 22 students going in.
okay.
Or 18 out of 44. I calculate to be about 40%.
What was the number? The APU number?
APU number is 247.
Okay, is that in your district already?
Sorry?
Yeah, Quiet Center in your district?
It's a quiet district, yes.
Yeah, how do you mind if they go to?
As long as we have room for them, it's.
Where are they now? Sorry.
They're in Hampton,
They're in Hampton.
they're in Hampton Oaks now. The one she's got outlined right there, it would be, have the contiguity.
But today they're in Moncure, just so you know.
Right. So they would be moved, the
But then
20.
they would be in there.
They would stay.
No, they would
Oh,
be,
they would
they're in
stay at
Moncure
Moncure.
now.
They would
That's
stay.
that's
They
gonna
would
remain.
stay.
They would
at
stay at
So
Moncure.
that's fewer kids moved, that's
Okay, that's good.
another plus.
Right.
And who's got a calculator, 18 out of 44, so that's about 40%? Maybe a little 40.2 or something, I don't know.
Somewhere.
So if that's the percentage, and Moncure's at 45, that's not going to increase Moncure. It's not going to increase that 45. Maybe it'll take you down this, you don't really want to be under, because if you're 45, you get that extra money.
Right.
Of course, you have to reduce your price size.
That's 18 out of
41?
because of the,
It's
this is a
41%.
distance thing, right?
41, yes. So that's not going to have
That's not gonna
a
change.
negative impact on Moncure. Probably with that many kids, it's not going to have any, or maybe, well, how much were we over? 45.1?
45.37.
Probably take us
Yeah,
down to like
I agree with you.
45.27 or something. Right. One in the right direction. All right, so is there any objection to that? Irene, they're in your district, you're
Now, this was
okay with it?
You did not.
To moving?
Moving that, Quiet Town Center?
That's already done. Yes.
Well, moving the
Okay, you're
Moncure
in your
plan.
district,
Yeah,
so
in the
Moncure's in
plan,
your
yeah.
district.
Yeah, no,
Are you,
yeah,
do
whatever.
you have a concern with that, moving those 20, 44? Okay,
No,
well,
I
let's,
don't have a concern with moving them. I still don't like these tables, that's all.
okay, all right. So do you want to move them in both the tables? Because we're pretty much a mirror, but, I mean,
I don't know if that's needed in,
Well, that'll bring the
It's
number up in
the
this one
exact-
too.
It's the exact same thing.
247.
So you would make the same request,
Right,
because you
that's,
have the
that's
same.
what I would suggest. I would suggest if we move them in one, we move them in the other.
That's,
but then that
okay,
brings-
so that's what I asked about.
E2 has Moncure at 96, that's not
Okay.
gonna work for two.
That's what I
It's
asked
not gonna
about,
work for
so.
two.
It's not my area, I'm gonna stay out of it.
Okay, you know what, let's not move them in two because that would increase Moncure. Let's just move it in one, if that's all right,
that's fine.
because there's room.
I think that's what
All right, because there's a lot of other differences between one and two. Matt and Scott, for the next time we meet, which will be the night before the public hearing, or it certainly, could we have for the school board a summary of the differences between E1 and E2? You know, because I think that would be, it would be helpful for me. I'm not just, if you've got the names to go with the EPUs, I guess I can look them up, but that would be very helpful to translate, you know,
Difference
APU.
between E1 and E2.
Yes, yes.
I.
And it's just gonna be
In E2,
in those two schools.
E2 Hampton Oaks becomes, or continues to be.
Okay. All right, so we're going, Holly, do you have any feelings one way or the other about putting for public hearing E1 and/or E2?
No, I'm fine with that. I can
you could put both of them forward?
Okay.
I mean, I would feel, just speaking for me, I would feel more comfortable now because I can have a chance to look at them and see more about the differences. I mean, I know I saw the APUs, but since it's not a district that I am intimately familiar with, as I am my district, I want to get a chance to take a look at them. And actually, oh yeah, I guess you can't get them to us tomorrow. I was going to say we could do drive-bys on the weekend, but it's when you can get them to us, if you could send that to us. And I, you know, if it's not till Tuesday, we'll have them then. Because all we're doing is going to identify the plans that are going to public hearing. Then after the public hearing, we'll have another 10 days to consider the public comments, and then before it comes up to us for a vote.
So I don't know where everybody else is with the hybrid plans. For
Yes,
me,
we'll look to you to speak to
right,
us on that one.
So where
And Ms. Hazard.
I have, my issue with the hybrid plan is just, you know, is there anything, Ms. Hazard, that we could pull out of Rocky Run for this plan to go forward? Does that make sense? Is there, so that those numbers aren't going up to 101%? I mean, is there anything like on that western edge that could go to Hartwood?
I'm looking.
Yeah. That's
And then, while I look.
yeah.
This was based off of E. Because
Right,
that's the one I
right,
worked
right.
with. So I don't know what the discussion they just did on E included this or not.
It
So-
did.
Okay,
It did.
and I'm sorry, I was in my zone.
Right, and I was good with those changes being made to both E's to move forward.
And just so we can summarize, it did go down, I think you went
Right.
over them, so.
Okay, so these are all between Falmouth and Hartwood,
Right.
Yeah, I
right?
think
And
they
you
were.
all are happy?
And it cleans up some of the
Okay,
nice
that's-
things
that works for me.
need to be cleaned up. I
All
think.
right, so, but you're not touching the other ones?
Nope.
All right,
Okay, let me zoom in.
but when you
to
give us
see.
the difference between the two E's, when you give us that, I think it would also be good to have a summary sheet, we kind of, to say all the adjustments that were made this evening.
Right.
Again, if you give this to us Tuesday or even Wednesday, that works for me. Is that all right with everybody? I mean, they've got a lot on their plate, so. We're gonna need that anyway and be able to present this to the,
To the public.
So could you just,
You may have to look at this.
well, right now, we're still discussing what we
have
want
to watch
to
the
go
video.
forward. As soon as we come to that conclusion, then we'll end this work session and have a special call meeting with a very quick, hopefully, decision on what's going to public hearing. So I'm hearing E1 and E2. I know you two would prefer just the E2, but if we put both of them forward, then they're both equally open for consideration. And
Right.
Dr. Chase, do you have a preference, or Holly have a preference of which of the hybrids or both of the hybrids you want to go forward?
I would have both go forward just because the E's are different, and so for those purposes, I would send both of them forward.
Do you have any objection to that, Holly?
For it to be both I'm sorry.
Both hybrids.
Both hybrids. No, I don't have the fix at this moment to get Rocky Run down.
Right.
But, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking at
Right.
potentially an adjustment there, right? I mean,
Right.
we're not talking about a significant move.
Well, I mean.
Which I would say, moving a subdivision would be a significant move that I would not want to
I think right
do
now we're
without
trying.
presenting it to the public.
And that's what we're trying to figure out
Public hearing.
beforehand. She's trying to see if there's something
Okay.
she would be comfortable with moving out of Rocky Run into Hartwood to bring those numbers down. And there may or may not be, so she's just taking a minute to look.
Okay, well, you take your time.
I know.
Okay. You need some more maps?
No.
I've got plenty of maps here. I'll give you some. All right. How far off are we? I mean, how much would you like to change it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out numbers too, I'm kind of doing it in my head.
Hybrid 1 and hybrid 2, so we're
I mean-
looking at, you're looking at the Rocky Run 3 years out at 101.06.
4 years out at
How are the,
101.6 or 97.
How are those projections there? I mean, are there any, like some of us have identified some questions about projections.
I think I'd rather it go-
About those projections. Are they
like I
pretty
was talking
pretty
about.
good?
I think they're, because of the areas of the growth, they straddle in the Hartwood district 3 or 4 attendance zones, really. I mean, like they're adjoining to it. So if we go with some kind of preemptive spot, I don't know what word we want to use, as something, as all of a sudden there's a bulldozer out there and there's going to be 50 homes.
There's room
The
in
board could,
Brent. There'll be
you're
room
right,
in
they
Brent
could,
for
they could go
somebody
to
new
Brent,
coming.
but right now, I can't break that APU because at the front of the big APU sits on a road that goes right to one of the schools. But the back, hopefully the subdivision that we build would have a road out the back, then, that we could, look at it that way. But breaking the APU now, I
You
think
don't know
then
what's
it
gonna
makes it
happen
look,
with it.
right, and that's,
Right.
So why don't we consider actually taking an action on a preemptive redistricting? We keep talking about it every time we have an issue with overcrowding. We bring it up, we've had people come to speak to us about it. We've mentioned it at the last redistricting, we talked about it at the high school redistricting, and here we're having that conversation again. Maybe it's time for us to act on it.
I think we should do it in a more formal one, because I'm not gonna pull out these.
Well, not
I think
tonight,
let's
but
go.
when we vote on.
You mean set a policy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be good, because there's more involved than just saying we're gonna move you somewhere, because we'll have to coordinate with transportation. But if we have a policy that says, if our schools, if it is determined that there's no room in the school, a new development would be assigned to, then the school board, maybe we could just delegate that to the superintendent.
Because he would love to have that
Aren't you glad
responsibility.
you're
Which I think is,
To make
we already
those
have a policy that allows for that.
discussion.
The state has a policy.
Up to
that allows-
5%. Ours really isn't an account for these bigger subdivisions
Right.
because it gives the superintendent up to 5% of the school population.
Right.
So that's really not going to be enough if we're going to talk
Sure.
about larger. But yes, that's an excellent point. After we get through the budget, we can talk about that. And we're also going to, God, I hate to bring this up, but we're going to have to talk about the transfer policy sometime
Yes.
soon.
My favorite subject.
Okay, but not tonight,
Right.
not tonight.
Right.
All right, so do you want to keep looking?
I'm gonna keep, no,
All
I'm
right.
gonna keep it as it is for now, because I'm afraid of pulling,
All right, so
the ones I'm
Rocky
trying to
Run-
divide, I can't divide.
Rocky Run is in your district. Are you comfortable? No, I mean, not comfortable, but can you live with this as it is, with these projections? And it's, I
I'm
mean,
willing, I'm
we
willing
don't
to
know
take
it's,
it so that we can talk about it at public
Okay.
hearing and get public comment.
okay.
on it.
And it's
I
also a
can do that.
consideration because that's not the case under the non-hybrid. So it's gonna be a factor to consider with the hybrid.
So
All right.
we're taking all these then and we're
Sounds
gonna
like it.
regroup.
Sounds like it. I mean, is there any, I mean, I know the ideal would be to take two, but I
If
don't
we
think we're gonna
get,
have a majority who's ready to do that.
if everybody does their homework over the weekend and we come to some kind of, hey, look, this is wonderful and we all like to
Agenda
communicate.
information just for the public comment.
Maybe knock this out before Tuesday?
You mean it's my changes in mind?
Well,
Are
no,
we-
just saying, I've looked at everything that I need to look at.
Are we sending, we're not like going back and asking for more changes, we're
No, we're looking at what we've got
these-
right here.
What we're saying is these are the plans that we're going to take to the public and say, this is what the school board is looking at for the redistricting. We're gonna have essentially 4 choices. But, there's the difference
They're
is,
related.
really, there's 2 that, there's a big difference for the south. That's the hybrid. And all 4 of them, will have a difference. 2 of the 4 will have a difference for the north in the Hampton Oaks and the Montour. So it just gives people more choice of what to comment to us about. But I just want to make sure that when we take these plans forward, we are going forward with this is what we're looking at. And that we're not going to all of a sudden say, oh my gosh, we need to move 50 here, or 100 there, or 60 there, or whatever. Because that's what I would be concerned about. I mean, we're talking about adjustments, just like with the rolling hills, you know, the 10 kids or, you know, something relatively small. Is that, because that's what we need to vote on, because the public needs to have an expectation that there are not going to be, and I'll, for lack of a better word, I'll say significant changes. You know, perhaps minor.
More like the person, like I had a person on Hartwood Road call me and go, I can't tell if my house is on that road or something, which IP or like that to me is, if that's a family, like that to me is a minor problem
moving a
for
road
one
with 3
house, you know,
houses,
those kinds
but
of ones, I
moving
can't
a
tell.
subdivision with 30 houses would not, I would not consider that.
Right, and something
minor.
just happened with me recently. I thought that somebody else was included in a different one, and I sent Matt the address and a snapshot of the Google Maps, and they said, nope, they're not in that APU, so problem solved.
I mean, I
One
guess,
email.
right.
Okay,
I-
all right.
I guess
Yes.
the thing for me with the hybrid is, I'm not gonna be able to support Rocky Run being at 140%. And I don't think any of us can support a school being at 104%.
Which one is that?
It's the hybrid for C, both Cs. Rocky Run gets up to 104%. So if we're really not able to think about a way to do that, I mean, I'm certainly not going to vote for that. I would really like to see us find a way to solve that problem. But if we're not making any change to it, and we really can't as a board find a way to do this, then I will certainly say we don't need to take the hybrids forward. I wish we could find a way to modify Rocky Run so that could, but if we're not having any more discussions about what we could do, then there's not much point to it.
So I appreciate that. Is there, I mean,
Right.
I can't make any
Nope,
suggestions.
absolutely, no, I'm not
familiar with
I'm
that
not-
area.
I'm not
and
asking you to, nope.
I think Ms. Hazard has been exhaustive in her.
I have really tried to find
Suggestions here. If there isn't a way, then is there any consensus on just taking the 2 E's for the public hearing?
That would be fine with me.
That would make it
The
easier. for the
hybrids
public.
were created for your area, so if you don't.
Well,
You're
I can find a way, but it's not my constituents who would be affected, right? I mean, I can make a suggestion for
Yeah,
how to get Rocky Run
seriously,
lower,
she
but
can't support it
right,
Unless
unless
we
we
make
make a change.
right.
And of course, this is.
And that's just gonna,
Because I made the
that's a
changes in
domino.
here.
Again, we'll have the domino effect,
Right,
so.
that's right. Well, if, I mean,
I mean, what would this?
well, we looked at it. I mean, the whole intent was we were gonna look at these, and that's why we
Well,
asked
I mean, I
for
could
them.
ask our other people if they
Ask
have
the
any
audience?
suggestions. No, I'm thinking Scott, Matt, Pretty, if there's anything they could suggest.
Call a friend?
We've got to make some decisions, guys.
Yeah, oh, no, we have to do this now, and I know you have to leave, and we all are getting.
I can't leave until we make the decisions.
I have one question,
Yes.
just real quick, about 247 Aquia Town Center.
Yes.
Was that decision to roll it into,
Moncur. Leave it at Moncur. Take it out. Wasn't it going to Hampton Oaks in this thing?
in all plans, one plan?
No,
In
Well,
one
if
plan.
we're not gonna have hybrid 1 or 2, then I can't.
E1, only E1, right?
I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah.
E1. Because in
What did you say? What's that?
Yeah, we couldn't do it
You wanted to see a
in-
difference in
we
between.
couldn't do it in E2 because E2 starts Moncur at 96%, and we do not want to add anything
Right.
else to E2. So
Yeah,
it's E1.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give Ms. Hazard a few more minutes. Work her magic.
Done it once, and it's now. What is,
Yeah.
what is Falmouth
I got so much paper here.
I know, I'm sorry.
Here, you want mine? No, probably not, because it'll just make mine
Well,
worse.
you're looking at the hybrids, right?
I got it now.
Because you all made some adjustments already, so.
Well, we haven't made any
That's only for
adjustments to the
that was-
hybrid. We
that
made
was
the
adjustments.
hybrid.
Okay, so better make sure
I'm
we.
gonna take a hybrid one, but critique, but I don't know if I moved them over to plan
You made adjustments to Plan E21, Pam, and
No, I'm talking about the other stuff
The
that.
hybrid Plan 1 is the same one. You didn't ask for them, but the hybrid Plan 1 would be the same one, and that's the one you would want to make the same.
Right, but I'm saying I didn't need those same ones that I did for the hybrid.
Well,
We're
anything
gonna
we
get rid of
made
the
in
hybrid.
anything we made in E1 should roll over to hybrid 1.
Okay.
Anything we made in E2 should
Okay.
roll over to hybrid
That's
2, for the north, right?
Yeah,
That
she's
should-
shaking. her
I think,
head, so-
yes, because that's what because E plans and hybrid plans are exactly the same for the north. So if we make a plan in an E, we need to make it in the hybrid to balance. But we may not even have the hybrids before us. You know, I'm willing to consider it, but if it's not, if you can't support it, and this is
Right.
down in your area,
Right.
then I think it's not fair to the public to put this out as a
Right.
plan that we are,
Right.
looking at to adopt.
So are we saying the hybrid one and two are out?
Well,
No,
Ms. Hazard
we're
is
giving
still
Ms. Hazard a
working.
couple
She's
more
trying to
minutes.
work her magic.
Okay,
If I can get, but then I added it to Falmouth, and then that ran Falmouth out, so I'm like,
It's
I
getting
get a
late.
carrot, what happened?
What?
What just happened?
So I said that if we were leaving the plan for the hybrid with Rocky Run being at 101% in 4 years, that obviously none of us
I got
want to
that
support
part.
that. So Ms. Hazard was going to try just a little more to see if there was anything she could take out to lower it, but
Okay.
it's stressful, she knows her area, I don't.
Sure.
I'm not going to tell her which things we should push out of there, because I don't know. And she's been talking with her constituents. So just give her a couple minutes, and if she says, really, I can't do it, then we won't take all 4 plans forward, we'll take 2 plans forward. But if she can, then I would.
Let's call them something else.
right.
Because
Yeah.
E11 and E22 or whatever, just come up with.
Maybe we can just make them 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh geez, but I just got used to it, and now you're gonna change the name, and I'm not gonna know which
Or one
one's
and-
which.
one and
I
two.
know what. Can we
One
just-
and 2, I
No,
would suggest
no,
A and B, but
no,
they're old.
No, I think
All right,
you
E-
just have to learn them.
E21.
Continue,
Thank
because
you.
then that way you know which version it came from.
All right,
And that
all
makes
right,
sense,
I'll
so,
wrap my brain around that.
yes.
I can't find
Let's
some
just
number that
figure out
works for
what
right
we
now.
were trying to figure out and
I-
stop adding more to it.
Right, I can't
Rocky
find
Run,
something
yes or no?
here that is an easy switch to help down there based on some of the concerns or
Mhm.
some of the neighborhoods that, have really been vocal
Do you
to
need more
me.
time, or do you think
No,
no more
I-
time is
I-
gonna give you?
Because every time I move something into
Oh.
pink or yellow, it throws off something else. And I don't want to do that, and I don't want to move more kids than we're already moving.
And I'm
Because Pretty got the
right,
tools, I
right,
mean,
and-
she's
and-
sitting
well,
right
but
there. Yeah.
Pretty would be ticking, and Holly has concerns. I just want to go on record that I appreciate that we have all heard from many neighborhoods, but there are 225 kids in that neighborhood who really we have not heard from, and I think when we went to that neighborhood and talked to people, they said, yeah, we would like to stay at our school. So if we're going to go this route, I'm going to ask Dr. Kisner and Ms. Kale to make sure that we try to move some of these teachers out of Rocky Run to Conway so that these children have teachers who they have relationships with, right? To really try to do right by these kids.
Well, I'm going to say we need to move it from the right places, because it's not just Rocky Run's numbers that
Absolutely,
move everybody's.
absolutely.
It may not just be Rocky Run's teachers, because the special expertise they have will be addressing some new students that they're receiving that have been. So I think that I am very much ready to defer to our superintendent Tripp with whatever plan, and Mrs. Kale and HR, to make sure that we have the right staff everywhere, which if everybody has listened, this has been something for me. Dr. Kisner and I have kind of tangled on it, but I think we're of the same mind. We need to make sure we resource
correctly or as well as we can to address everything that we've got going on, but especially in redistricting, I think that that's the case, because I think we're going to be looking at council. I mean, it's a big shift, but it's something we as a board have said we were going to do, was this big redistricting at this time.
Right, and I'm just gonna say this for the record, I wish that that consideration would have been given to the special ed kids that y'all moved out of their current schools, so.
Record, we have a comparable situation up in the north. We're moving 250, high needs
Kids out of
students
Hampton Oaks
from Hampton
into
Oaks to
Moncur.
Moncur. So I would expect, and knowing Dr. Kisner and his background with special populations, that he will do everything he can to make sure that these transitions are smooth and that the needs are met. And Mrs. Kale and I have had many discussions since 15 years ago when my daughter got redistricted to her school, and it was a great school, but the redistricting was pretty rough. So we've learned a lot since then, and we're going to do everything we can. But I note your concern, and we have the same situation. So, all right. So it sounds as though we have at least expressed a consensus that the two plans that would go forward are E21 and E22. And we're going to get a list at some point between now and when we go to the public hearing of the differences between those two plans with respect to the Hampton Oaks and Moncur's
Okay, thank you.
differences there, and also a list of all the changes that we made. They're minor, but they're still significant, that we made tonight from here to there or whatever. That would be separate. So as long as we have that before the hearing, I think we're good. If you get it earlier, fine, but no pressure, guys. You came through for us, and
Yes,
the consultants as well. All right, so now we can close the work session.
I'd like to
And
just
have
forward
a-
and clarify.
Hold on, don't close the work session.
Oh, okay.
You made these requests on this plan, but not on this one, and when I asked what we're gonna do on this one, we don't need to meet the same thing that we're thinking of doing on this one. So I'm just saying, you might wanna make the same requests.
I thought Trish just
Not
said
for
that.
both of the E
Are you
plans.
talking about the Aquia Town Center?
Not for both of the
Are
E
you talking about
plans
Aquia Town
because they're
Center?
not identical, yes.
No, I just said that. I said we are
No.
not moving them on
And that's what I
your
said.
plan. No, I said that, or didn't we clarify that?
But
Okay.
listen to what she's saying.
Moving in two, but moving in
You're only
I'm just
moving
trying to
them.
help.
No, we're only moving them in one. We're not moving them in your plan.
I understand.
Okay, so do you
But
want us
she's
to change
saying,
that?
she's saying that.
I'm just offering to Pam before she misses out on the opportunity. It's
Let me make
possible
sure.
in both with.
247, I'm
I
sorry.
didn't mean to extend this.
You were at 94% on one of them. Do you really want to add more kids? I mean,
It
it's up to
doesn't,
you.
just, hold on, focus on you.
What APU number is it?
Just do the same shift, Brittany, in the second plan.
Wait.
Hold it,
What,
well-
I need to know what APU it is. Let me understand what you're doing.
This one that you shifted back to Barrett,
Yeah,
and then
Garrisonville, the one that's in Garrisonville.
in this one, you needed to move something in to Moncur because of Hampton Oaks. But in the second plan, Hampton Oaks is not as full, so it doesn't need to move.
So that's why we didn't move it in the first one. Because the numbers are different.
Okay,
This one.
never mind.
That's that
It's
one
fine.
there.
I'm just talking about Parkridge.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah, so what you were just talking about,
Yeah.
that Hampton Oaks to Barrett,
Yeah.
is that what plan would you
I
use?
think it was
That it was the
255.6.
one. It was, yeah, it was one. It was E1. But the number was, let me see, hold on.
I don't think.
It was,
322.
no, it wasn't. It
And then
was,
322 is coming that way.
yeah, check 255.0 first, make sure.
Right, we don't want to post that.
Stop. Check 255.0, make sure it's the same in both.
Yeah, it.
He said-
Give me 2 seconds here.
But both of them need to be at Barrett, right?
So 255.0 and 255.1
Yeah.
are the same in both E's.
Yeah. Okay, and then,
You had talked about moving those to Bear, right?
right. What did we say about it? And then what was the other one? What was the AP on that one, Jamie, do you remember? Was it 247? 247? So that was changed in E1.
No, you can't change it in that one.
247, I don't think you could do it in E2. Can you? Question.
You can propose what you want to propose.
Yeah, but you don't want the numbers to be high.
It didn't need to move out of, that one doesn't need to move out of Pangenoaks on that plan, Pangenoaks is
Yeah.
inside.
Right, it was fine. That's-
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. Yep. Okay.
So 255.0, 255.1, 2 Bear in both E's.
Right,
And then 247 is still just an E1.
right.
Did you have a question too?
That was it.
Oh, that was
That was
your
it.
question. Oh,
We're
good.
just
Don't
trying
bring
to.
us 4 plans, right?
Gotcha.
No, 2 plans.
Just two.
No, it's just both E's.
Sarah
So should we send
thought
that?
and discussed the hybrid.
No, I know,
one
but I
and
thought
two.
Holly said that she needed some time to think about.
She did, and then she ended up saying that it's not.
Holly's magic
I tried.
hat
Oh, you did that?
empty. All right, so are we ready to close this work session now?
Are we implementing?
We're gonna have, yes, all the changes that have just been discussed, along with that 1% that was in Whiting Creek that's gonna go to Brent, that Rolling Meadows in Hartwood.
So
That's the only
everyone
one in my
knows to
district
give,
change.
there was a lot of discussion tonight, some changes. I'm giving these guys till Tuesday. There's not gonna be anything Friday and Monday. We don't wanna post the wrong things
No.
on
Right.
on
I
web.
understand.
So, don't look for them tomorrow.
Will we do say something that the 2 plans that went forward, we need to put it somewhere on the
Yeah,
website?
we'll put
Well,
some-
I think we can post the E21 and E22 and say that we'll post all the plans, these are the plans that the school board discussed and considered at the work session, that there were some adjustments made to E21 and E22, and that those adjustments are being,
Well,
put forth on the plans, and they will be published on Tuesday.
Point of order, I
Well,
want to make sure.
I don't,
we also
we're not gonna do it
say-
tomorrow, in all due respect. We gotta do it right. If we start posting something tomorrow,
Yeah.
and then post it on,
But we're here tonight, why would we not post what we
because
looked at?
we changed a lot of this.
Right,
Yeah.
but we're still here,
I
it's
mean,
a
it will be
public
part of the,
record.
but it will be part attached to the work session
Right.
attachments.
Well,
All
it
right,
could be-
all right,
But I
so
wouldn't-
just
I
put
wouldn't
it
put them as
with
a
our work
separate-
session.
No, it's part of our
minutes.
work session thing, but the
Okay.
public will interpret, they're not gonna keep running to the website.
Yeah.
So no.
Okay, all right.
So, comment, I wanted to make my comment that
Go
in
ahead.
addition to all what you said, we need to also say that C, the plan that I brought forward, that had Embry Mill together and Winding Creek that was voted down today. So we had 5 plans that we brought in, yes, and now we have 4.
We have
So that
2.
was- Well, yeah.
We'll
we have
we'll
4
have
and then
2 once we have,
yes.
if we get to our meeting tonight, to take a vote. All right, so you're saying that we're not gonna post anything until you have it all accurate, all right?
I think accurate.
Is that the consensus of the
Yeah.
board? I'm okay. I think we'll have people that know what we decided tonight. Certainly if somebody asks me, I can explain what happened in my district. I'm not sure I can explain anybody else's.
So
But,
there's one thing that we just need clarification. Ms. Hazard provided some changes
Yes.
on that?
For E.
For E.
Both
E,
these are-
both these?
Yes.
Both
Yes,
these.
yes,
So I think
E1 and
both these
E2.
would
That's what we
help
got to
with
okay.
the-
All right, very
So
good.
that'll be part on your list of
Yes,
the
ma'am, on the
changes
agenda. Yes,
from
ma'am.
here.
Yep.
All right, and then the only thing we're asking the consultants to do is to draw the new maps and run the numbers, or is that something that you do at this point, Matt?
No, they'll be able to help out with the differences as
Okay,
well.
all right, so we're down to, hopefully, we will know when we have our meeting in a few minutes. But it
So-
sounds like we'll probably be down to 2.
Can I just clarify, are those changes good to go, and you're not gonna bring like 3 more maps with like the original and the changes and the changes?
We don't have time for more
No, they're just gonna be
changes.
2.
I don't want any more
Well,
paper.
that's your decision. Right now,
Of whether we
our
review
hope would
it.
be.
That's
what-
why I'm trying to
Yeah,
clarify.
our hope is whatever you vote on tonight, we're moving forward.
Well, we're
And then you may react after you get a lot of feedback at the public hearings, but up to that day, these will be what we move.
Which is why we have a work session scheduled a week after the public hearing.
Yeah.
A final work session to look at, consider the comments from the public hearing on the plans that are presented. We're not, I mean, people can comment on whatever they want, but it needs to be clear that these are the plans that are under consideration. Okay, we're done with the work session? All right, where's Missy? You still here?
She's hiding in the.
All right, can we call this meeting to order?
Dr. Chase.
Present.
Ms. Decatur.
Here.
Ms. Egan. Here. Ms. Hazard.
Here.
Ms. Healy.
Here.
Mr. McCosker is absent. Ms. Young.
Present.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that we take Plan E1 and E2 forward for consideration of public hearing.
You mean E21 and E22?
I do, E2, 1,
Whatever they're
and
really
Right,
called.
Mr. Gator?
E2.
And I will second.
All right, now that is as adjusted from the
This
work
work
session that
session.
we just finished 2 minutes ago.
Correct.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Dr. Chase, second by Ms. Hazard. That means 2 plans will go forward for public hearing on Wednesday and Thursday. All right, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right. Motion carries unanimously. We are done.
I was gonna say, a motion to adjourn.
We all need that. We're
See
done.
you guys next Tuesday, Wednesday.